Not even 10 days after the Sharks play their final game of their 25th season, we already know what they're going to be doing for their 26th. That's right, folks. It's time to plan your lives for the next 10 months. Welcome to this Pucknology After Dark special. Yes, we do wake up before noon. I am joined by AJ Strong. How's it going,
Let's,
bud?
not too bad.
Let's put it this way: we have plenty of rants for this schedule. If you want to be a part of the show, use the hashtag Technology After Dark. Also, follow us on Twitter. I'm at PuckGuy14. AJ's at AJ_strong. Yes, this is the off season, so let's be real here, folks. I We try to be as polished as possible, but I'm rocking glasses, so forgive me. Um, so that being said, AJ, first off, how are you, good sir?
Oh, pretty good. I've had a week or so to let it sink in that we're 2 wins away, but that's okay.
So close, yet so far. But that's the fun about pro sports. We do it all over again. Let me just throw this graphic up. So make sure Technology After Dark is the hashtag. You can follow us on Twitter. You can also join us in the chat. We will be taking your questions a little bit later on in the program. Uh, Hopefully, you'll be able to join us with that. Is with everybody, we'll I think everybody's been trying to plan, if they're doing a road game, when's the road game, when can we go, all that good stuff. But let's kind of break this down. Opening night, which we kind of knew already yesterday, October 12th, against the Los Angeles Kings. First time, I think, in like 3-4 years that we're going to have a season opener at home. Uh, so the Kings will be there to watch us unveil our second place banner. Unfortunately, AJ, what do you think?
I'm sure they'll all be sitting there on the ice with shirts underneath their jerseys that says, "Wow, Western Conference champs." That's cute.
Yeah, it's not nothing to be disappointing about, but they're thinking what we're thinking. That's for sure. Um, Slushy, yes, I'm wearing glasses because I didn't have time to put my contacts in. Shut up. Um, so they have this first home game, and then they hit the road for five. Yeah,
I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, if you think about what did they do to start last season? They started in LA, hosted a game at home, and then went on the road for four.
mhm,
So, and against a lot of the same teams, Islanders, Rangers, and they're doing it again this time.
yep,
And if they can somehow maintain their dominance on the road that carry over from this past season, I have no problem starting stuff on the road, um, and you get three in a row at home to finish the season. So yeah, I'm no problems with the October schedule whatsoever.
yeah. In fact, 12 of the first 18 start on the road, and it knocks out a good chunk of the Eastern Conference. Columbus, the Rangers, Islanders, Penguins, Red Wings. Um, you have the Caps, Panthers, Lightning, Carolina. You have essentially 9 of the 15 teams taken care of, and you haven't even hit Thanksgiving, which is unbelievable.
And can we just talk about that for a second? What is the NHL's? Why do they have such a proclivity of having the Sharks always play the Blackhawks the day before Thanksgiving? I just don't like. It's been that way. Go over the schedule for like the last decade, and I think the
Uh,
Blackhawks play. They always. We never play them in the day before Thanksgiving. We never play at Chicago. We always seem to host them. I'm telling you, go back and look over the last 10 seasons. I think the Blackhawks play here the day before Thanksgiving. I think 7 out of the last 10 years.
yeah,
And I just
it's either been Chicago,
it's
Calgary, or LA, I think. And but what's interesting also, since you mentioned the Thanksgiving, there's a Black Friday game this year, which I find very interesting. On the 25th, they play the Islanders at 1 p.m. which I think is a pretty cool idea. It's a part of a back to back though. So the Sharks play the Islanders at 1 on Friday, November 25th. The next night they play Anaheim at a 7:30 puck drop. So that's kind of an interesting twist, and I wouldn't be surprised if that 1 p.m. Islanders game is follows by a 7 p.m. Barracuda matchup.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a great point. And you know what? That's definitely one I'm going to. Everybody's going to have the day off. Not don't really care to see the Islanders per se, but I mean that's a much better way to spend Black Friday
But
than trying to
them
fight.
trying to tackle people for $100 TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It makes sense to have it that way. So that's a nice break. That's a nice breakdown for that. Um, but one of the things we joked about last season was that we don't get to see Vancouver, till like this, like with a month to go in the season. This time around, you don't see the Canucks until February 2nd. I,
That
I,
just makes no sense to me. I mean, at
and the
least they moved it.
semifinal.
At least they moved it up this year. Last year it
Yeah,
was. We didn't see them until February 28th. I mean, we almost didn't see them until the beginning of March. That I don't get. I don't understand why. For some reason, we have to go 4 months through a schedule before we even see one of the teams that is in our own division. That's the thing that makes it even more bizarre. Yeah. And the fact that once again, I mean, I'm looking at last year's schedule, and we had Vancouver on the 28th, and then we went to Vancouver, came home the next night, played Montreal, then 2 days later went back to Vancouver to play Vancouver, then came home and played Vancouver again. So it was 3 times in the course of a week we played Vancouver, and then at the end of the March, back to backs home and away, and then this season it's the at Vancouver on a Saturday, come home, host Toronto on Tuesday, and then host Vancouver on Thursday, and then to start April once again back to back. I don't understand why they have this thing about scheduling back to backs with Vancouver at the end of the season. It's quirky, man. It's very quirky. It just makes you wonder, like, what the hell's going on over there?
no, no. It's really quirky as I'm going deeper and deeper into the schedule. I do, like I said, I do like how they kind of essentially put the Eastern road trips essentially in three chunks. My question is this: who thought it was a great idea to have the Sharks on March 20th, then have them fly all the way up to Minnesota the next night to play the Wild, then have them fly back down to Dallas
Oh
on
my
the
god!
24th?
I just
For game.
see. I didn't even notice that. Now that you pointed that out, I'm like, are
Oh
you
my god!
serious? Are
And
you serious?
so in March, this is my thing, and we all know how I have a bias with teams that have INN in them. So March 5th and 6th, they play back to backs, Minnesota and Winnipeg. Get that. Oh, a
Absolutely.
little over 2 weeks later, they go at Dallas, at Minnesota, at Dallas, and if I'm not mistaken, outside the October 29th game where Nashville comes here, the Predators don't get their playoff rematch until March 25th in their barn. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for that matter, you come home for one game to play the Rangers, then you hit up the Western Canada teams. It's quirky, but you know what? Outside that little quirk for Dallas, Minnesota, Dallas, all of these road trips make sense.
Yeah. I actually that is one thing I'll give to the NHL. At least it seems like they've tried to make most of these road trips. I mean, obviously you said at Dallas, at Minnesota, at Dallas. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, I mean, the chunk, these swings are pretty good. They're definitely palatable. They're not, it's not the nightmares that we used to see. But I mean, we all remember that one what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, where it was just like, at Colorado, at Buffalo, at Tampa, at Chicago, at Dallas, at Arizona, and then come home. It was like made zero sense. But this one, you've got a nice little Eastern swing in
Mhm.
October. You've got a nice Eastern swing in November with at Washington, then at Florida, at Tampa, at Carolina. I mean, that's just a nice little swing down, quick jump back up,
Mhm.
and then hitting St. Louis on the way home, and then Arizona. Like that makes sense to me.
Mhm.
Totally get that. And then of course the Eastern Canada swing in December at Toronto, at Ottawa, at Montreal, and then hitting at Chicago on the way home. Totally get that. And then in February, a quick four gamer over the course of a week at Buffalo, at Boston, at Philly, at New Jersey. All pond hoppers, not bad. Although the Philly game is 10 a.m. So it's always fun. Breakfast hockey, always fun.
That's a weekend of breakfast hockey. You have the Philly game at 10, and then New Jersey's at 9:30.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last
So
time you saw that? But you know
I,
what?
I
Well,
know. Wow, 9:30. I
it's
don't think I've ever seen that before.
I can't ever remember, and obviously that's going to be an NBC game.
One of
Uh,
those will be, yeah, for sure.
you would think Philly, since doesn't Comcast and NBC basically kind of own Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would see that, but it wouldn't surprise me if the New Jersey one is part of something, considering that start. Um, and then there's a couple. You have a couple little quirks. You've got playing Winnipeg on the 16th, January 16th. I'm assuming that's MLK Day for next year.
I believe so.
So you've got that, and then you also have what was it that stuck out to me? Oh, you got the matinee against Nashville on
March
Saturday,
11th.
March 11th. Um, Now, that which is another kind of a quirk because that was a playoff matchup this year. So it would have been cool to host St. Louis a little earlier in the season, not having to wait until January, since that is the team that the Sharks beat to go to the final. I mean, yeah, you played there in November, and that's all good. But yeah, a couple little quirks here and there, but it's still. I don't know. I've seen worse, but I still, the fact that you're done. Let me take a quick gander. Yeah, the basically you're essentially done with LA by the end of this year. You know,
Yeah, they have a game against LA on January 3rd in San Jose and January 18th in LA, and then they're done. They only have. I'm trying to find it. They do have a game against Anaheim on March 18th, but
yeah.
other than that, uh, they've kind of clustered the Anaheim and LA games for early in the season, and more so the Western Canada teams in the division, like the second half of the year. So yeah, it makes sense,
Well, it's
but
see,
it's
and that's
weird.
that is what is so silly, and it kind of happened last year, twice this season. We in December on the 20th and the 23rd, we host Calgary, we host Edmonton, right? And then January 10th and 11th, we're at Edmonton and out Calgary. I love the fact that they keep on, compressing games against those two, and then at the end of March, at Edmonton, at Calgary, and then to finish the season, the last two games, host Edmonton, host Calgary. I don't know why they want to keep pitting those two. And let's just talk about how silly the end of the last six games of this
Last six games, yeah, I was
schedule.
just gonna say.
At Edmonton, at Calgary, at Vancouver, and then host Vancouver, host Edmonton, host Calgary. So just a fun little series in there. I think it would have been cooler if, like, say, if you're going to do that, maybe you make the last four games that it's at LA, at Anaheim, host LA, host Anaheim, and then when you're I'm sure there could have been something fun in there, and I haven't seen the Ducks and the Kings schedule, but it wouldn't surprise me if games between those two teams are part of the end of their schedule. Well, no, probably not. They're probably, since Vancouver and Edmonton and Calgary are already in California, they're probably traveling down there to finish their season. But Either way, I get such a kick out of that. Where the last 6 games of the Sharks season featured the same 3 teams. But
And for
let's
that matter, I don't think we've ever seen the Sharks finish up with 3 home games to finish out the regular season either.
Yeah, I mean it was just 2 last year, Winnipeg and Arizona. And I don't have the previous schedules in front of me, but it is kind of a kick. And now can we talk about the elephant in the room, please? Can we?
I'm surprised we've gone 15 minutes through it, but preparing for an AJ rant.
No,
Here's AJ Strong.
not necessarily a rant. And Chris Chris at Chris JWS. We were discussing it a little bit on Twitter earlier, talking about how teams get priority with scheduling, and I totally understand what he's saying. I just
I do too.
we
Once you wrote it, it makes sense. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, but I still take into account, and it does appear like the NHL perhaps is trying to make a bit of an effort to try to lighten the air miles on the Sharks to at least try to level the playing field. I mean, granted, there's no way you're going to be able to level it completely just based on geography. There are just a lot of teams that are much closer to, say, the Rangers or Philadelphia or whatever. There's just more teams. It's just geography. I get that. So that's why I feel like maybe there should be more of a concerted effort to help teams like the Sharks or like Arizona or whatever, the ones that maybe, well, Arizona. See, the Sharks are pretty kind of like they're in there. Maybe Colorado, I don't know, or Dallas, but to try to at least try to balance the air miles. But let's talk about it for a second. At the end of December, now we had heard about this for the last couple of months of the Sharks season, just this last year, the fact that the Sharks were having such a difficult time finding the opportunities to get in a practice here and there. And yeah, I mean that was a talking point for about the last month or so. They just couldn't find time to practice, and when you looked at what their penalty kill was not doing at the time, it would have been nice to see to see them get a little more practice in. But the end of December, December 27th, at Anaheim, then they fly back up here. They sit around for a couple of days. Then they host Philadelphia. And then the next day, they have to turn around and fly back down to LA to play at LA. I'm sorry, but it just one season, just try it. Just there has to be a way that they can figure out how to make the Sharks play back-to-back games in SoCal, or at the very least, back-to-backs against Anaheim and Arizona, or LA and Arizona. I mean, you're already there. Can we not make some sort? I know I'm sure to the NHL, for them, it's just a case of, well, San Jose, it's just so close. It's a 50-minute plane ride, hour-long plane ride, not a big deal. Blah blah blah. Well, you know what though? That's that extra travel time. That's more opportunity you've taken away from the Sharks to be able to get into practice. That's just kind of my outlook on it. But probably because the lack of practice time last season was such a talking point for the last couple of months. I would just like to just once, man, because how many times do we like? I'm even seeing we host Anaheim and Arizona back to back, but we
Yeah.
can't go to Anaheim and Arizona back to back. Come
Well,
on, man, come
well,
on.
but you
But
know what? But you know what? Next year, when Vegas comes into town, you have 4 teams that you can try to cluster
yeah,
in that area. So hopefully you get that. But I get what you're saying, but I like what Chris is saying also in the sense that and see all my friends in Toronto are saying December 13th Toronto is like, no, I need it for after the new year. So that's the sucky part of it all.
can I
But
make one more point?
go ahead.
The other thing that I'm ecstatic about is because this was something that I was kind of bitching about last year, and I'm looking at the schedule. So when we played LA, when we played in SoCal, whether it was LA or Anaheim, played LA on a Wednesday. And looking here, and then we played. Okay, we did play Anaheim on a Friday, but then we see LA again on a Tuesday, and then we see Anaheim on a Tuesday. And when else? Was that the only time? Was it just those four? Man, God, it feels like we should be playing them more often. So anyway, but at least this season we've got where is it? Where is it? Okay, so we play at LA on a Wednesday. Okay, well, what are you going to do? But at Anaheim on a Friday, that's good. But New Year's Eve, which I don't remember the Sharks playing on New Year's Eve in a while.
Yeah, they've done it before.
Yeah,
They've
but I
done
don't
it.
I don't think they have in the last couple seasons. That's all.
Yeah, no, I remember going with Amy to one of the games down in SoCal for what was it in Anaheim. So this one's in LA.
Well, the thing I'm digging though is that this time we play at LA on a Saturday, which means road trip. Like that's been a thing on my bucket list is that I want to see the Sharks play in somebody else's barn.
Mhm.
So now that there's a game in December on a Friday, it's like I can take Friday off and go down to Duckville and see a game there, and then at the end of the end of the month spend New Year's in La La Land and see a game at Staples. Maybe there's a concert happening the night before or something that I can find out about. But that would be, that's what I've been dying for is to do that. But like I said before, every game previously that I had seen on the schedule, we always played at LA like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and same thing with Anaheim.
Mhm.
So I'm digging that.
But yeah, a lot of people are mentioning it, especially Chris was saying a lot of the back to backs because there's 16 of them, nine of them on the road. They're like Calgary, Edmonton, Minnesota, Winnipeg, and New York and Islanders. So if you aren't getting the LA Anaheim, at least you're getting them on the road where you're kind of how am I putting it? That you're kind of getting it made up in the sense of that way. But like I said before, the clusters of the East road trip is phenomenal. Now, I will say this: for some reason, the Penguins aren't playing opening night. I don't understand why.
What do you mean?
Well, the Penguins season opener isn't until the 13th, and oh, does Bettman have a little twist to the Caps or whatnot? Because they're bringing the Caps to Pittsburgh
Well, yeah,
opening night to
dude.
unfurl their banner. Ouch! That's as bad as bringing the Sharks in on the season opener when the Kings were unfurling their banner. That's mm.
Well, if he was really sadistic, he would have had St. Louis here to open for the Sharks. I mean, when was the last time the Blues won a conference championship? So, yeah, I mean that's I get that makes sense. It does. Let's be honest. In a perfect world, you would kind of I think football makes an attempt to do this where the teams that were involved in the last championship game are usually involved in some measure of opening night. And obviously, the Sharks hosting LA to start the season, and they were in the final. Yeah, having Pittsburgh the next night doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I would have thought, if anything, that should be a doubleheader: Washington at Pittsburgh at 4, LA at San Jose at 7:30.
Yeah.
And like I said, start them at 4, not 4:30, because we know NBC does not know how to get a doubleheader off in time.
Well, I think I saw that Chicago actually um uh has the season opener, and I have a feeling that that'll be on NBCSN. And since we're unfurling a banner, they'll go to us for the second half of the doubleheader.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Jeez, you
So,
know,
so
and
don't be
and
surprised if that happens.
and as much as I want to, I want to like because I'll definitely be getting when tickets go on sale. That's the whole thing. Is as soon as I see this schedule, the first thing, of course, in my mind is okay, what tickets or what games am I planning on going to? I of course want to be there to see them raise the conference champion banner.
One sec, Sharks. Here. We'll just let AJ talk. Here's the commercial for next season right here. Go ahead.
No, no, I'll be going for that. But for me, like, don't do what LA did. What was it? Was it their banner? It wasn't last year. I think it was the first time they won the banner, and it was the longest banner raising ceremony on the planet. I mean, people were going off about that. There were so many jokes to be made about that. I remember people tweeting the next day after the game, going, "Hey, is LA still raising the banner? Did they finally get the game on?" I mean, there was a lot of jokes about that. So, Sharks have done pretty much everything pretty styling when it comes to whether it was unveiling the Gund banner or whatnot. I mean, they've done it right, but let's don't take too long with it. Definitely acknowledge it. Have a nice little video, but don't get crazy.
Don't get cray like Crayola.
Yeah, don't get crazy with it.
Oh boy. Now see, and here's another thing. In Ross McKean, first off, Ross McKean, um, mentions in November, 15 games in that month. March, 16 games in that month. I'm absolutely surprised with them having the World Cup of Hockey that the season doesn't get stretched a little bit further out because that's a lot. Like we said, there's 16 back-to-back scenarios, so 32 games are playing within a few nights. Now, of course, as part of the deal to have the All-Star format change, the teams do get a bye week. So thank you, Slushy, for mentioning that and finding that out. So the Sharks have a bye week, essentially from February 19th to the 25th. So they'll get like a few days of rest in that area to kind of gather themselves and prep themselves before the playoffs. If they make
Well,
the playoffs, of course.
yeah. Yeah, no, and that's a great point because looking at this schedule and the obviously what you talked with the World Cup pushing things a little bit. This season for the Sharks, last year they opened the season on October 7th, and obviously now it's adding an extra 6 days in there, but opening on the 12th. And last year they ended on the 9th, and now they're ending on the 8th. So there's definitely a little compression in there, especially when you add in the starting later, ending earlier, and adding in a bye week. So I can, it's gonna be man, it's gonna be fun. We're so used to basically hockey every other night, and now it just seems like we're gonna have
Not
a
really.
lot of hockey. I'm so
Yeah.
used to the whole Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday thing. I'm so used to Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday that when I watch a game on a Monday night, I automatically think the next day it's Wednesday when I wake up.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. It's going to be an overload of stretch, but that's what we like. So it's going to be fun. I'm as I'm doing this, I'm kind of looking at. All right, I had said Toronto, Dallas, and Arizona, and unfortunately, they are not doing a game in Arizona for spring training, which sucks. Ah, that's a bummer. But oh well. Uh, I say I could go to Dallas. Maybe that's an idea. We'll see. Toronto, I'm not sure. I was hoping that that road trip would be like in January or February, but December 13th in Toronto just is a bummer. Ah, jeez. You said you wanted to do LA or Anaheim, AJ?
Uh, yeah. Oh, you mean road trip?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm, being New Year's, I'm a little because chances. See, the problem for me, it always that's the whole thing. It's like, oh, finally they schedule L.A. Or the Sharks at L.A. on a Saturday. Oh, it's on New Year's. Well, crap. Chances are I'll have to work. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I'm a little nervous for that. But the Friday at Anaheim, I'd be totally down for a road trip in that in a big way because that's like I said, that's something I've always wanted to do. Um, Yeah, looking at some of these, I'm trying to think of like usually when the schedule comes out, I usually like mark check off like five or six that I immediately want to like look into finding about getting tickets to. Obviously, the opener, obviously, the last game of the season, and then I just kind of pick and choose. And usually, I'll try to see an away team or I don't know, away team, throw in an East Coast team. I put together an image a while ago just for my own personal stuff, and going through like is it still here? I had it around here. Like I was putting together this little art thing where I was just going to put all my tickets on a poster board, and
Nice.
and I'm going through the tickets, and I think there were only like three teams that I've never seen live.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but and I thought I had it written down, and now you know this last season. No, I'm saying this last season might have. I think I might. You know what? I think the only team that I've never seen at the Tank uh, is I want to say Montreal.
Mm,
I think that's might be the only team I've never seen at the Tank because I'm looking at here and I'm going, no, I've seen Ovi and I remember seeing Crosby. I remember a Rangers game. I'm just going through here. I remember seeing the Islanders. Uh, you know what? Maybe the Sabres might be the other one. Might be Montreal and Buffalo because it was like, why do I want to see those guys? But there's boy, only
definitely.
four home games in February.
I'm glad we gave up the tennis tournament for that.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Yeah, right, right. Wasn't that a big thing? But then again, I'm looking at the schedule from last year. There was only four home games last year too.
I'm
So
still scratching my head over that one. Nonetheless, so you have the bye week, which we mentioned again. Thank you, Slushy. From the 20th to the 24th. Um, but
when they
that,
used to do SAP though, that was usually blocked out for like at least 10, 12, 14 days, wasn't it?
yeah, because they would literally take up, tear out the ice, put down the playing surface for tennis, do that, then redo the ice. So it took some time because they also snuck in like Disney on Ice or something with that. The other thing too here is, um, we talked about how we had John Scott last year for the All Star game and balance stuffing for that. This year is a good year to have to sharkify the All Star team. The All Star game, of course, is in LA. It's on January 27th to the 29th, and that's sandwiched in between two home games. Quick trip, I say let's just get the ball rolling and just like sharkify the roster as much as possible. Why don't you say?
Well, I was actually reading something. What? Shark?
As
What do you
typical,
mean?
nobody.
What do you mean sharkify the roster? I'm sorry. I
I'm
was dude. I'm trying to like pay attention to Twitter and the chat and what. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to. I'm just saying. It'll be a great time to stuff the ballot for the Pacific Division All Stars in LA because it's
Oh,
in LA.
oh, then yeah, sure,
Like,
absolutely. But let's be honest, man. They have to after the cluster that was John Scott last season. There's going to be some sort of radical change in the voting process. I'm sure they'll still allow the fans to vote, but I think it's going to be I think it's going to be very different. I think it's going to be that they're gonna allow the fans to maybe vote on the starting lineup, but they're not going to vote like who gets in and whatnot because we saw what happened. As great of a story as the whole John Scott thing was last season, and it was a phenomenal story. The way though, I mean, you couldn't have scripted that any better. The way that it worked out.
right.
But yeah, because of that whole thing, there's just no way that the NHL doesn't revamp their voting process. I said it back then when we were talking about with John Scott getting in that I thought it was insane to allow fans to vote 10 times a day for like 45 days or however long it was. I mean, that's stupid. It's you one fan, one vote, per email address. Now, if you want to be a goofball and sign up for 20, 30 different Gmail accounts or whatever, and vote for some player that you love, go ahead, knock yourself out. I suppose. I still think it's silly. I'm just, and Slushy saying AJ not the type of guy to, or the type of guy not to support All Star voting. Yeah, just because I think it's a silly game, and I think that about all Star games. The only one that is worth a damn, in my opinion, is Major League Baseball, because you got it's you're seeing the best versus the best, and no one is taking it easy for the most part. Like, you might see an outfielder, maybe one gets over his head a little easier in the All-Star game because he's not laying out like he could, because he doesn't want to get injured, and that's the whole problem with All-Star games. It's no defense, and the biggest thing is to just get out of the game without being injured. I think they should abolish all the All-Star games. It's so stupid that the MLB All-Star game determines who gets home field for the World Series. I think
Well,
that's
that
it's
was just
retarded.
a quick little oh, we have to make it interesting because
Because people aren't
we and no,
watching,
no, well,
and
that and because the year before that they decided to make it count, it was freaking God, what was it? Crap, why can't I think of it? Oh, because the year before it ended in a tie.
oh yeah, there's no tying in baseball. Yeah, I think they're silly. I think, and we discussed. See, we're going to go off on a tangent here. We need to wrap this up. But
Yeah.
my thing, the bottom line for me when it comes to All Star games is the fact that we start the voting process, and we're like barely 20 games into a 82 game schedule. Like,
Mhm.
you didn't have an all-star year or all-star season. You had an all-star month and a half is what you had. And there's a lot of guys that can do that. There are
Okay.
several people that ended up on a ballot because they started off on fire, and by the time the all-star game came around, they completely flamed out and they weren't deserved. Let's be honest. Did Joe Thornton have an all-star year last year? Absolutely. It's not even debatable.
Mhm.
Now, granted, it started late for him, but yeah, even DeBoer had talked about that. It took him until about Christmas to really buy in, and then it was just bam, and he was like on like a point per game streak for the rest of the. Wasn't it? Was it Thornton, or it was also there was somebody else that, like, nobody had more? Only like Crosby had more points than Thornton or something over
Yeah.
since the turn of the calendar. So that's, how can you not reward that? So
Mhm.
that's my bone of contention is, don't recognize and reward a good 18 to 20 games. You just make it part of the NHL awards ceremony, that you just acknowledge that, okay, these guys, based on their stats and what they did, had all-star seasons. So that you create a small little all-star trophy, like the size of a Grammy or whatever. Here you go. You make a nice little gold star or whatever on a little, wooden pedestal. Here you go. This season you were an all-star. You put up all-star stats. Good for you. And now you do not have to play in a stupid game that nobody else wants to play in. Now, if they want to and save, but see, this is the other thing too. I would love it if they made the All Star thing in Vegas, and now that they've got a beautiful new arena, how about this? You have the ceremony on Sunday where you hand out the awards. On Saturday, do the skills competitions, because those I do enjoy. I like watching the target shots. I like watching the relays and stuff. I enjoy the All Star competition, but the game itself usually sucks.
But
The last time I remember enjoying an All Star game was seeing Nabby throw a shutout for a period, because it hadn't been done in forever.
I still remember Ilya Kovalchuk throwing his stick in disgust. That was the best part. All right, so quickly recap: the Sharks' schedule is out. Let me get the graphic up here.
So there's some quirkiness to it, but I think we
But
both
it's
agree that it's fun quirky.
it's fun, quirky, and I think it's good quirkiness. Just quick highlights: opening night, October 12th against LA. Then they go on a 5 game roadie. The Cup final rematch is October 20th in Pittsburgh and November 5th in San Jose. There are 16 back to backs, 9 on the road, 2 at home, along with those that are like road game one day, home game next day, home game one day, road next game. You get the deal. Bye week is February 20th to 24th. There are 11 home games on Saturday, which is nice touch for them to use to their advantage to kind of promote, along with the countless double headers they will have with the Barracuda. There are 3 1 p.m. games on Black Friday, on Martin Luther King Day, and on March 11th against Nashville. Yes, AJ, you have a question pondering in your head.
Well, so there's 11 home games on Saturday. Wow, that's quite a significant drop from last season. Wow.
And I think there's 16 weekend games overall. There's a lot more on Sunday too.
Well, yeah, okay.
I think that's
I'm
probably what
not.
they're doing.
Yeah, I'm not including the. Yeah, I'm not seeing because I'm seeing like Sunday versus Dallas and Sunday versus Boston, and I thought I saw another one in there. So yeah, I guess so because I'm looking at last year's schedule and it's was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 Saturday night games. Oh well, I shouldn't say Saturday night. I think 2 of those were matinee starts, but yeah.
Yes.
Well,
So,
I'm and don't forget, I do like the fact. I'm assuming that the Super Bowl for 2017 will be played on February 5th. So I do like the fact that the Sharks play. Granted, it's on the road, but I do like the fact that you get into that schedule, that groove. At least I do when it's football season of being up 10 a.m. on Sundays to watch your football. So as soon as the Super Bowl's over, boom, following week at Philly 10 a.m. on Sunday the next day at New Jersey 9:30 a.m. So little morning hockey ain't never killed nobody. That should be
nope.
fun. We got to get together and will Stanley's be having brunch or something that day?
It'll be breakfast with the Sharks, just like the good times.
I like it.
All right. With that, we'll get out of here because, I mean, we're essentially on vacation still
Yep.
until the draft and free agency, and then we're really going to be working on our chance. So make sure you subscribe down below. Yeah, shut up. I know. Subscribe down below. We've got a lot of content coming on for the draft and free agent frenzy from all of us at pucknology.net. Check it out. It's got some great stuff coming on. But now you can plan your life for the next 10 months. And until then, I am Eric. He is AJ. You can follow him at AJ underscore strong. Respect the underscore.
Knock it off.
And I am Puckguy 14. Until we see you again, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh, and enjoy the weather and stay cool out there. Have a good one, guys.